priced like the favorite 8-hour by 63.64, but the tape's screaming fade. That endless fate size leaning bearish Uruguay and bullish draw is a big contrarian bet. And look at that ask side walling in Saudi in the draw. It's like not much price movement, but the microstructure is shifting. Draw bid depth is creeping up while ask depth is coming in, so that 0.24 looks a bit better supported. Uruguay is still the crowd favorite, 80.63. That draw book looks a little ghosty. Best bid I is 0.24, but the top bid level showing down at 0.01 tells you real support might be thinner than it looks if sellers lean in. Uruguay's got more genuine demand building on the bid depth, but there's a chunky draw just got heavier on the offer. Ask depth jumped, and that real top bid still sitting way down at 0.01, so the 0.24 looks like a thin coat of paint. Uruguay's bid depth keeps thickening, but the 0.65 sell wall remains. Liquidity just got pulled across the board. Draw bid depth and Uruguay bid depth both dropped hard, so any real sell pressure could move this market fast. Uruguay is still pinned at 0.63, 0.64, but with that bid thinning, it's starting to. We've got the classic offers back on look. Draw ask depth swelled again, so that 0.25 is a tougher ceiling, and the 0.24 bid still feels a bit synthetic with size lurking way down 0.01. Saudi ticked up a cent, but the draw offers eased a bit, but it's still a top-heavy book. Plenty of supply overhead, not much trustworthy support near the touch. The eyebrow raiser is Uruguay's top bid, suddenly showing 8.11. That screams stale, odd look. Order book just went ultra thin on bids across draw Saudi Uruguay. Looks like liquidity got yanked. Could mean sudden volatility like a momentum swing. Can you riff on crowd psychology, a late game nerves when the market depth disappears?
Oh, absolutely. When the bids vanish, it's like the midfield goes empty and suddenly every touch feels like a counterattack waiting to happen. The crowd senses that fragility, nerves spike, and one sharp move can snowball into chaos in seconds.
That last snapshot was a straight liquidity rug pull, and even with a small rebound, the draw book is still thin at the touch. One decent market order and you're slipping like a defender on wet grass. Uruguay's price is steady, but the depth is lighter than earlier, so volatility. Uruguay just nudged up a tick to 0.64 or 0.65, but look at that ask depth ballooning. There's a wall of supply ready to fade any rally. Draw and Saudi books are still lopsided with offers stacked high, so this feels like a market playing defense, not chasing. Draw probability slipping a touch, and the bid depth got thinner again. Support 8 0.24 hours 0.23 looks like it could crack if someone leans on it. Uruguay is still priced like the favorite, but with that big short interest sitting out there, any wobble turns. Uruguay still pinned 8, 0.64, 0.65, but that top bid jumping up to 0.21 is another weird print. Looks like phantom depth rather than real conviction. Draw's bid depth is inching back, yet the offer stack is still towering, so rallies feel like they'll get headed away at the near. Uruguay just gave back a tick to 0.63, 0.64, and that's the market feeling the weight of those monster bearish positions. Every push-up gets met by a hard tackle. Draw is basically unchanged, but with bids still skinny versus heavy offers, this tape is set up. Now we've got the classic looks liquid until you touch it setup. Bid depth jumps, but the top bid sitting down at 0.01 screams spoofy. Not real support. Uruguay is still the favorite, yet the ask side is swelling again. That liquidity just vanished. Uruguay bid depth got cut hard while price stays 0.3.64, which is usually a warning the floor is thinner than it looks. Draw and Saudi are steady, but the whole book still screams heavy supply. We're seeing a real rotation. Draw and Saudi both tick up, while Uruguay leaks to 0.62, 0.63. Favorites losing possession here. That's the big bearish Uruguay crowd looking smarter by the minute, and IFJT 62 break. That's a big tell. Draw and Saudi bids just ballooned at the top level. So someone's stepping in with real size, not just flashing quotes. Meanwhile, Uruguay's got a brick wall offer sitting right 0.63. Favorite can't break the press, and momentum's shift. Draw bids are still stacked 8.25, but the ask side just got heavier and that top offer slid down to 0.97. Someone's leaning on it, not chasing. Uruguay's still pinned under that massive 0.63 sell wall, so the favorites' rally attempts look like shots. Whoa! Draw just popped 2.26, 0.27, but the real support at the top vanished, with the top bid now down at 0.1, so that move looks airy. Uruguay keeps bleeding to 0.61, 0.62, and this feels like late game nerves. Price up, conviction down. Now the draw market's showing a weird split personality. Price holds 0.26, 0.27, but the real bid support is still missing up top, so it's a thin ice rally. Uruguay's ask stack 8.62 is back like a packed penalty box. Buyers have to earn every inch. Okay, that's the difference. Draw support just reappeared in size 80.26, so the move finally has a midfield behind it instead of vibes. Uruguay is still stuck under that 0.62 supply wall, and until that clears, the favorite's basically playing sideways possession.
Yeah, that's the chess move. Kill the rhythm, make the ball do the running, and buy everyone a breath. But if there's no outlet up top, possession turns into a trap, and one bad pass suddenly feels like handing over a breakaway. Exactly. If your killer's glued to the touchline, you've got fireworks with no fuse in the middle. You need a body pinning the center backs, giving that vertical punch. Otherwise, it's all pretty triangles and no dagger.
And just like that, the draw bid support evaporates again. Top bid back down at a penny tells you the 0.26 is being held up by very little real demand. Uruguay ticking down to 0.60, 0.61 is the favorite losing momentum.
Alawi's trying to thread it in, and Alrican's the man with the qualifying scars. 5 goals earned the hard way. You can feel the hunger there, like a striker who's climbed a mountain and now wants the summit moment. Casares gets a crucial touch, just enough to snuff out the danger and calm the storm for a heartbeat, but you can sense the pressure building again, like waves hitting the same spot on the rocks.
Draw support snaps back at 0.26 with real size again, so someone's actively defending that line like a back four under pressure. But the ass depth is still huge, so any upside needs follow through, not just one brave buyer. Uruguay staying 0.60, 0.61.
Berea sends it long down the right, trying to flip the field and turn defense into a sprint, but it's quickly mopped up and that little window of chaos slams shut. Ode puts his foot on it and just hits the brakes. Smart, mature, taking the sting out of the moment. You can almost hear the crowd groan as the tempo drops and the shape resets. Yeah, this is a bit un-Bielsa, isn't it? Normally it's full throttle chaos from the first whistle, but 8-0-0 this early, maybe he's letting the game breathe before he lights the match.
That draw bid wall at 0.26 just got even thicker, nearly 500,000 shares, so someone's planting a flag and daring the market to push through. But Uruguay's book still screams supply at 0.61, and that keeps the favorite from breaking.
Nice little triangle there. Berea to Casares to Oliveira, keeping it tidy and trying to lure the press in. You can feel them probing, looking for that one pass that cracks the shell. Oh, that's a sloppy giveaway under pressure. Ujo needed an outlet and didn't find it. Abdulhamid tries to stitch it back through the middle, but you can feel the nerves twitching in that buildup.
Draw just stepped up a tick to 0.27, 0.28, and that's a clean momentum tell. Buyers are finally willing to pay up, not just defend. But keep an eye on Uruguay. That 0.59 bid stack is big, so if the favorite catches a break, money can rotate back fast.
IMO, FS1's teasing Iran versus New Zealand next. Group G in LA. Give us the market outlook on that one. Who's the blue chip? Who's the volatile pick and why?
Yeah, Leo, Iran's the blue chip there. More structure, more repeatable edge, the kind of side you can underwrite. New Zealand's the volatile pick, lower baseline, but if the game turns into set-piece chaos, they've got that underdog pop like a late counterpunch.
Absolutely. Fresh faces, big stage, and nerves can turn into fireworks in a debut like that. Iran will want to announce themselves, but New Zealand won't gift them an inch. Should be a proper scrap. You can already see the pattern, Canoe and Al-Shama just snapping it around, trying to set the rhythm like a metronome. If that duo keeps getting touches, they'll start squeezing the life out of the opposition's press. Yeah, it's that chess match tempo, little spells of possession just to cool the blood and steal a breath, but keep probing too long and one bad touch becomes a siren call for the other side to pounce. Exactly, drag them out, make one defender bite, and suddenly there's daylight to sprint into. They've recycled it all the way back now, but that's the calm before the storm if the runners time it right. Tambati gets it and you can feel the reset. Head up, scanning, trying to pick the lock from deep. One crisp switch or a disguised ball through the seam and the whole defensive block starts wobbling. IMO, that turnover came from a risky central push. Feels like a market overextension. Give us your quick take. When teams force it through the middle, is it like chasing a breakout and getting punished?
Big tell here. Uruguay bid depth just got cut nearly in half, so that floor is looking a lot less like concrete and more like plywood. Draw asks keep draining too, which is classic tight game tape. Less willingness to sell the stalemate.
Absolutely. If Uruguay's center halves aren't being asked questions, they'll just stroke it around and enjoy the view. But the moment Nunez starts hunting like a greyhound, that comfortable possession turns into a hot potato. Nunez is sniffing around, isn't he? 5 goals in the bag, but that little drought can mess with a striker's head. One half chance, though. One ricochet in the box, and suddenly he's back roaring like a man possessed. Cano tries to set it, and it just gets away, but that idea, switching the point of attack, is spot on. Make them shuffle, make them turn, and suddenly those gaps appear like cracks in ice under pressure. Uruguay trying to trap them on one side. This is like a market squeeze. If you don't rotate and diversify the attack with quick switches, you get pinned and lose value fast. Give us your take. That 5-1 shocker felt like a market crash for Bielsa, yet he's stabilized and Uruguay looked like a rebound stock now. Give us your take. Was that just a one-off dip or a real warning sign for their portfolio tonight? Saudi can absolutely nick joy by flipping it quick. Uruguay hate being dragged side to side. It's like making a heavyweight dance on hot coals. And Bielsa, he's a survivor, isn't he? One bad night doesn't kill the gospel when the squad's got teeth. Uruguay, 2 stars stitched in history, 1930 and that legendary 1950 smash and grab, and they still carry themselves like the kings of the street. Even when the trophies aren't coming, they turn up with that bite, that try and outfight us swagger. Valverde tries to thread it down the right and it just runs away. Little reminder that even the sharpest blades can slip. But you can feel Uruguay probing, testing the touchline like it's a pressure point.
Liquidity's back for Uruguay. Real size stacked 80.57, 0.60, so the favorites regained its footing, but it's paying a higher insurance premium with that fatter ask wall. Meanwhile, draw and Saudi show those weird 0.01 to 0.03 top bids.
Casares keeps it moving, but you can see Saudi snapping at ankles, trying to turn this into a street fight in midfield. That press is brave. One mistimed jump, though, and Uruguay will slice right through the gap like a hot knife.
Uruguay still trades like the favorite 80.58, 0.59, but that top ask parked way up 8.94 tells you sellers are scarce near the market and liquidity's lumpy. Draw and Saudi remain ghost books with those 0.01, 0.0.
Uruguay's opposite movement is like a market rotation. One runner checks short, another darts long, and the defense gets whipsawed. Give us a quick analogy. How do teams exploit a rigid 2-block structure like traders exploit a range-bound market? It changes the whole vibe, doesn't it? Without the superstar spotlight, Uruguay look more like a machine, all movement and timing, and Nunez is the spear tip. And when Saudi drop off, that central pocket opens like a trapdoor. Suddenly, Suarez saying he'd return if Bielsa called, but the call never came. Bit of controversy. Give us your take. Is this like a company moving on from a star CEO to a new growth play with Nunez as the headline asset?
Uruguay just got its footing back. Bid depth snapped up to 292K and that 0.56 line is stacked, so buyers are defending the favorite again. Draws ask depth ballooned, meaning plenty of supply overhead if it tries to rally. Big picture, market's leaning Uruguay, but it's still...
Saudi are settling in here, keeping it probing, and even that wild effort tells you they're not hiding. Muslera barely blinks, but Uruguay will have heard the warning shot. One clean connection, and suddenly it's a whole different match. Absolutely. When a side goes man-to-man deep, you've got to play quick little triangles, and that third-man runner is the ghost that slips the handcuffs. One sharp wall pass, one dart beyond the marker, and the whole block suddenly looks a step slow. Nunez has been living on scraps so far, but you know one touch in the box and the story flips in a heartbeat. And Saudi have that World Cup swagger in the room. One of these lads has already written a headline once, and they're hunting another. New boss Donis wants that local core singing from the same hymn sheet. Less translation, more instinct. It can be a superpower, but only if they keep their nerve when Uruguay finally crank the tempo and start asking real questions. That kind of club chemistry can be rocket fuel. 13 lads who already know each other's runs, habits, little cues. But it's a double-edged sword because if Uruguay disrupt the rhythm, the whole machine can start coughing at once. Yeah, that familiarity is like turning up with your best mates. You don't need a map, you just move together. For a coach new to this level, it's priceless. Fewer surprises, quicker buy-in, and the confidence to play brave even when the stadium starts to roar. You can feel it. Saudi aren't here to park the bus, they're here to drive it straight through midfield. Compact, yes, lines tight, but the moment they nick it, they want to spring, and that's what makes this spicy. Saudi are snapping into that press like a mousetrap, trying to steal a moment off Uruguay's build-up. Ugarte's reading it well. 1 minute he's the anchor, next minute he's stepping in to punch a pass through the middle.
Uruguay is looking cleaner now. Ask depth collapsed to about 347k, while bids rebuilt near 287k, so the favorites got less overhead resistance. Draw is still thin on the buy side, so that price can get pushed around easily. Feels like Uruguay's back in control.
Oh, that's a tumble and a half down the flank, and the referee's having none of it. Play on. Uruguay keep it moving, and you can hear the Saudi bench barking because they wanted that free kick badly. We've got a late whistle after a messy challenge. Ref let it run, then finally called it. Feels like delayed decision risk in markets. Jump in with that analogy and how it changes player behavior. IMO, that delayed whistle and the replay makes it look even worse. How do you see refs letting it run like a market before a late correction? Crowd's boiling here.
Totally. When officials play advantage too long, it's like markets ignoring bad data until the sell-off hits all at once. The crowd's heat is your volatility index spiking. Once emotions take over, even clean tackles get priced like fouls. Uruguay's still the favorite, but that ask wall just thickened. Sell depth ballooned to a 681k, so upside's getting capped like a team facing a parked bus. Draw bids are improving, yet the book's still top-heavy on offers, meaning any rally could stall fast.
IMO, they're checking a possible handball in the box after that press. Feels like a VAR moment that could swing the whole market of this match. What's your read on how these calls shift momentum, like investor sentiment?
This book's screaming VAR uncertainty. Uruguay still mid-50s, but bid depth just collapsed to 15K while offers stay heavy. Nobody wants to be caught offsides on the headline. Draw in Saudi ticked up a hair, classic risk-off rotation.
IMO, they're checking a possible handball. Arms tucked, but the crowd's restless. Give us your VAR volatility take. How do these long reviews swing momentum like a market shock? IMO, Uruguay gifting a corner with a sloppy back pass. Saudi set-piece chance and talk of 4 conceded from dead balls. Feels like a risk management nightmare. What's your take on teams pricing in set-piece weakness mid-game? Uruguay coughing up corners again. 4 set-piece goals conceded lately. Feels like a shaky balance sheet at the back. Any quick stat or risk premium angle for this Saudi delivery? Al Jawar stands over it like he's about to sign a check. Uruguay have been wobbling on these dead balls lately. One good whip into the mixer and suddenly it's panic stations in sky blue. Swung right into the danger zone. Uruguay rise and get a strong forehead on it, and that's a big first punch. But don't relax yet. The second ball is where corners turn into nightmares. Barella gets hunted down and Al-Sawi spins him like a turnstile. Lovely little pivot to keep it alive, but Uruguay snap in with a crunching tackle and suddenly the air comes out of the move. Abdulhamid just thumps it upfield to reset the whole picture. No nonsense, get out of trouble. And after 20-odd minutes, you can feel it. Saudi are lively, Uruguay a touch edgy like they've misplaced their keys. Absolutely, they've been fearless, playing through that press like it's a mild inconvenience, not a storm. Uruguay expected to bully them early, but Saudi Arabia have shown composure and bite, and it's got the favorites looking a little rattled. Yeah, they're slowing it down at the right moments, then snapping forward like a rubber band. Really mature game management. And there's Morella sniffing around, but the flag bails Saudi out, and Uruguay's little surge gets clipped at the knees. Exactly. Uruguay's got that heavy artillery up front, and if you give them a sniff, they'll kick the door in. Saudi Arabia have to keep that line sharp and the marking tighter than a drum, because one loose moment and it's chaos. Hydration break coming at a perfect time. Both sides can finally breathe after that frantic opening spell. Still goalless, but you can feel the tension simmering. Uruguay want control. Saudi Arabia want to keep dancing through the pressure. You can hear the orders barking out. Calm it down, hold your shape, no Hollywood stuff. That's the coach trying to keep the adrenaline from turning into sloppy decisions because one fancy touch in the wrong zone and you're chasing shadows. That's pure touchline theater. He's fuming because the game's starting to run away from his script. 5 minutes can feel like an eternity when your players stop listening, and you can almost see him trying to grab the match by the collar. He's second-guessing every little call now, isn't he? When you're under pressure, even a small tweak feels like a gamble. And from the stands, it's just watch, but down there, it's chess at sprint speed, one wrong move, and you're cooked. That's the line, isn't it? Watch it or live it. On that touchline, you're not a spectator. You're riding every tackle like a wave, and the players can feel that energy pulsing into the pitch. And there's the ad break sliding in like a late tackle, Dove promising no sting, just smooth defending for your skin. Meanwhile, back on the pitch, both benches will be praying their next spray is a tactical one that actually sticks. We've gone from deodorant to iPhone deals. This broadcast is doing box-to-box runs of its own. And yes, give me some music because right now it feels like the stadium DJ's been subbed off for a spreadsheet. He wants to dance, he wants to feel it. Someone get him a spotlight and a corner flag to twirl. This is big, is doing a lot of work there, but fair play. They're selling it like a last-minute winner. That's a full-on house party anthem to drag us back into football mode. Doors wide open, everyone in. And tomorrow on Fox, the stars step out like they own the place. Imo, you buying this hype or shorting it? They're selling Mbappe and Messi like blue chip stocks, pure hype machine. What's your take on this kind of star-driven marketing? Is it a guaranteed return or a bubble waiting to pop? They're hyping Mbappe and Messi like blue chip stocks, France versus Senegal, Argentina versus Algeria. How would you price that kind of star power and add dollars and viewer spikes?
Yeah, that's premium inventory. Stars are your earnings catalyst, so ad rates price in a short, sharp viewership pop around kickoff in key moments. But it's like paying for a striker's XG. Huge upside, yet one quiet match and the CPMs look rich. Not much movement. Draw still stuck 0.32, 0.33 with that big 0.33 sell wall, so upside feels capped unless a real catalyst hits. Uruguay's book looks healthier with heavy depth on both sides, like the favorite just controlling possession and draining the clock.
Yes, Uruguay can't just win it and admire it. They've got to snap the tempo up 1-2 touches, and suddenly Saudi's shape starts wobbling. And if Saudi keep teasing that channel between fullback and center half, one run, and it's a fire alarm moment. Exactly. If Uruguay keeps shuffling it side to side at walking pace, Saudi will sit in those two banks of four like it's a comfy sofa and never budge. They need a sudden jab, a diagonal, a runner bursting through, something that makes defenders turn and sprint. IMO, stats versus momentum here. Saudi playing with real confidence despite the numbers. Give us a quick market take. When do the underlying metrics matter, and when does the eye test scream upset? Stats can wear a fancy suit, but confidence is the real currency out there, and Saudi are spending it wisely. They're building without gifting danger, squeezing the space, making Uruguay's options predictable, and that's how you frustrate a heavyweight. No goals yet, and that just cranks the pressure up another notch. Every half chance feels like it's worth gold dust. One clean strike, and this whole group table flips on its head in a flash.
Now we're seeing a bit of a rebuild on the draw. Bid depth nearly doubled, and the top bid stepped up to 0.02, but the ask side ballooned too, so it's still a crowded trade. Uruguay remains the cleanest lane with that 0.54, 0.55 anchor.
That's the World Cup stock market right there. One clean sheet and Rosinu's shares go through the roof overnight. Spain had all the numbers, but football doesn't pay dividends for possession, it pays for goals. And Cape Verde cashed in on pure drama. IMO, that Rosinu Instagram jump is like a penny stock turning blue chip overnight. Give us your take on that World Cup market reaction and how one result can reprice a player's brand instantly.
Totally. One viral moment is an earnings beat plus a takeover rumor rolled into 90 minutes, and the crowd reprices the brand before the fundamentals even update. It's momentum trading with a highlight reel. Once the narrative catches fire, sponsors chase like
Free kick the other way. Saudi Arabia just a touch late there, and you can feel the frustration bubbling. And Castro in that face shield, warrior vibes, but you hope that head's clear because one mistimed header in this heat is no joke.
Liquidity's evaporating on the draw in Saudi. Bid depth keeps draining, so those prices are one hard tackle away from slipping. Uruguay's bid depth actually improved, but the offers jumping to 0.99 screams no real sellers, so any market.
He buys the foul first, then they go long to Nunez. Proper target man stuff, dragging 3 shirts with him like he's towing a trailer. He muscles it into a throw-in, and that's a little territorial win that can turn into pressure.
Uruguay's the only book that looks remotely tradable right now. Ask depth came back, and there's a real offer, AT054 again, so price discovery can actually happen. Draw and Saudi still feel like a ghost town on the offer side with that Soy 99.
Uruguay are hunting in packs now, snapping at heels and squeezing the air out of Saudi Arabia's build-up. That touch from Ujol just runs away and out it goes. Pressure does that. It makes your feet feel like they're wearing boots 2 sizes too big. Abdulhamid's down, then hobbling back on proper risk-reward moment. From your angle, Amo, how do teams weigh the asset protection of a key player versus staying in the game, especially in tournaments? Uruguay settled it with Oliveira, and you can see the shape reset. Bentancur drops in like a metronome. Tick-tock, keep it moving. Now it's worked right to Moreira, looking for that cutback. This is the moment where a defense holds its breath. Imo, that save was a blue-chip moment. Keeper just protected his portfolio with a tournament-defining stop. Give us your take. Clutch under pressure like a market crash rebound?
Absolutely. When panic hits, the keeper's the central bank. One decisive intervention and suddenly spreads tighten and confidence comes back. That kind of stop flips momentum fast, like a vicious sell-off that snaps into a relief rally. Yep, that's a bailout, but you can't run a country on emergency loans all match. Risk management here is reducing exposure, slow the tempo, win cheap fouls, and stop giving up high-quality chances before the next shock hits. Uruguay's ticking up a notch, now is 12.54.55, while Saudi's still stuck at 0.130 with a mountain of sell-side overhead, so the market's pricing pressure without the knockout yet. The big tell is that heavy bearish
Imo, that Aloy save was like a last-second circuit breaker. Uruguay flooding the box, and he just shuts the market down. Give us your best risk management take on that moment. That's the trap, isn't it? Uruguay stroke it around, lull you like a slow market day, then suddenly they hit the turbo and you're chasing shadows. Another whistle, another little sting in the rhythm, and Saudi Arabia will be happy to break that momentum anyway they...
Not much changed on price, but the story's still that massive ask-side parking lot, especially on Saudi. Tons of supply waiting to sell into any pop. Uruguay's steady 8-55%, yet with thin bids, one big moment can gap this market like a breakaway.
There's that right side again. Rodrigo driving it like he's got a motor, and the whistle finally bites on that little shove. But Morella bombing on from fullback is pure danger. He arrives late like a tax bill, and suddenly the box is chaos. Oh, Zlatan and Haaland on the same couch. Good luck to the studio furniture. That's 2 egos and 2 goal machines in one room. Amo, that's like pairing a blue chip dividend stock with a meme rocket. Either way, you're watching. Zlatan and Haaland on the same Fox wrap-up. 2 superstars, 2 massive brands. Give us your market take. Who's the safer blue chip and who's the high volatility growth play?
Yeah, that's a perfect style clash. Zlatan's the blue chip, proven cash flow brand, lower variance, you know what you're buying. Haaland's the high beta growth stock, explosive upside, but the price swings with form, fitness, and the next big move.
32 gone and still no breakthrough, but you can feel Uruguay winding the spring here. Ugarte and Oliveira snapping it around with purpose. Miami's holding its breath every time that ball zips into the middle.
Draw bids are building, depth up again. So the market's quietly hedging toward a tighter game, even while Uruguay stays pinned at 55%. But that Uruguay ask wall is huge, and with endless fate trimming the bearish stack, you can feel positioning getting twitchy.
Hydration breaks flip the momentum. Uruguay suddenly pressing like a market after a rate cut. Give us your quick take. Who looks like the blue chip here and who's the risky breakout?
Totally. Uruguay's the blue chip. Structure, depth, and they can grind out value even when it's messy. Saudi's the risky breakout. One counter is a moonshot, but most of the time it's just whipsaw and hope.
Casillas pops up in a spot you don't expect, and suddenly everyone's recalculating. Keeper's instincts on full display. A little fortune, sure, but that's also pure nerve and timing, like he read the script before it was written. Nervous? My heart's doing step-overs in my chest, mate. This is the kind of sequence that turns calm into chaos in one touch. Uruguay recycling it, probing, and you just know one crisp pass could light the fuse. Adujo's got acres of space there. When you're that free, it's basically an invitation to cause trouble. Uruguay need to snap to him quick because one look up and suddenly the back line's in a sprinting contest. Back and forth like a pendulum, and Adujo's dancing on the edge of the box, teasing that little gap. You can feel the defenders tightening up. One wrong step and he slips through like a needle. What a gorgeous switch from Barella, stretching the pitch like taffy. Valverde tries to snap it back in. That's the danger sign. One sloppy spell and suddenly the whole back line's sweating bullets. Saudi have been tidy for long stretches, but when Al Jawar sprints off like that, you can feel the panic meter twitching just a notch. They're overtrading at the back, too many tight passes, liquidity drying up, one bad touch, and it's a market crash. Give us your take on risk management under pressure. IMO, that scramble ends with a foul going Uruguay's way after the keeper gets clattered. Talk to me about risk management when teams insist on playing out with tight passes under pressure. Harsh whistle for me. Keeper's punched it and taken a bump, but it's a contact sport, isn't it? And you're spot on. Saudi keep tying themselves in knots with those tight little passes, and Uruguay are licking their lips, switching it wide to open the door.
Uruguay's probability ticks up, but the price is slipping, 0.54, 0.55, because the bid depth just got yanked. That's nervous money, not conviction. Meanwhile, Saudi's still a one-way street on the offer, so any shock goal either way could rip through these thin layers like a count.
Now Saudi are asking questions. Uruguay retreating, and that delivery had a bit of venom, even if it's cleared. Second ball drops kindly, and Al-Shabaab's on it again. This is where belief starts to grow in the stadium. That cutback was begging for a clean connection, but it's overcooked and the chance evaporates. Forcing it toward Nunez, there is like trying to thread a needle in a hurricane. Saudi read it, step in, and suddenly Uruguay's move turns to dust. And just like that, the attack dies and they're forced to hit the reset button. Back it goes all the way to Hano, and Uruguay have to rebuild from deep. You can feel the tempo dip for a heartbeat, but Group H never stays quiet for long. Barella gets away with a shove, no whistle, and Saudi break with numbers 5 flooding forward. Give me your market volatility take on how one no call can swing momentum like a sudden spike.
Absolutely. One no call is like an unexpected data print. Spreads widen, stops get hit, and everyone reprices in a heartbeat. When Saudi surge 5 forward, that's the volatility impulse. Uruguay's safe trade suddenly looks like it's defending a 1-goal lead.
IMO, Barella's just coughed it up and Saudi win a dangerous free kick. Momentum swing like a sudden market sell-off. Give me your quick take on how fast confidence can flip when possession turns over like that.
Totally. Turnovers like that are instant confidence shocks, like a big fund dumping into a quiet market and everyone scrambles to reprice. One dangerous set piece and the Uruguay control narrative evaporates. Risk premium jumps on the...
Here we go. Al-Jawar or Al-Dasari, standing over it like two snipers arguing over the last shot. With that angle, it's screaming for a wicked curl to the far stick or a nasty near-post dip that catches everyone napping. He's been in this kind of moment before. You can see the calm in the body language, like he's already pictured the net rippling, but he's peeling away now. Maybe it's a decoy run. And that usually means something clever is coming. Muslera just punched away a dangerous floated free kick. Big moment, big save. Feels like a market shock absorption. One intervention calms the chaos. Got a quick analogy for viewers?
Exactly. Muslera just acted like a central bank backstop. One clean punch, and the panic premium comes right out of the price. You could feel the stadium exhale like traders after a circuit breaker. Reset, regroup, and the favorite gets its footing back.
Another corner now, and you can feel Saudi Arabia sensing a crack in the door. This is where tight games get stolen. If they're sharp on the second ball, it's chaos in the 6-yard box, and Muslera's going to be barking orders like a drill sergeant.
Uruguay's still the favorite, but look at that ask depth collapsing from the mid 500K range to about 472K. Sellers are backing off a bit, which is supportive. Draw creeping to 35% says the market's still pricing a grind, like a match where no...
Oh, Muslera again. He's turning into a brick wall in gloves, just smothering that bounce before it turns poisonous. Al-Amri thought he had the moment, but the keeper steals it like a pickpocket in a crowd. Massive, massive intervention.
Now that's a tell. Uruguay's price slips to 0.51, 0.52, even as bid depth doubles to 40K. So buyers are stepping in, but demanding a discount. Saudi ticking up to 15% is that underdog momentum trade. One clean counter and this market gap.
Uruguay look jittery on these dead balls. Every clearance feels like a half measure and the box is turning into a pinball machine. Bielsa's face says it all. Sort it out now because Saudi Arabia are sniffing blood with every swing in. He tries to bend it with that late whip, but he shuts the face and it just narrows. Muslera won't lose sleep over that one. Throw in though, straight back into the mixer. Saudi Arabia are keeping the pressure cooker hissing here.
Big liquidity just showed up on the Uruguay side. Bid depth jumps to 130K, and there's real size sitting up at 0.5. That's a proper support line being drawn. Draw depth also balloons, so the market's bracing for a tight finish, like both teams parking the bus and trading.
That's pure reflex goalkeeping. He's moving one way, and somehow the left hand just rewrites physics and shoves it over. Those are the saves that deflate an attack and pump up a backline because Saudi Arabia thought they had him there. Spain dropping points has flipped the group into a winner-takes-top scenario. Give us your market reaction take. Who's the blue chip now, Uruguay or Saudi, with this momentum swing? With Spain slipping up, this suddenly feels like a golden ticket. Win it and you're sitting pretty at the top. Al-Dawsari dancing on the edge of the area now, looking to slip the pass. Uruguay can't switch off for a second here. Oh, now we've got contact and the referee's been letting it run. Players are starting to look at him like, really? Abdulhamid gets clipped and it spills out, but you can feel the temperature rising. Next challenge could spark something. Another corner. Saudi Arabia are knocking on the door like they've got the key in their pocket. This is that late half surge where you smell a goal in the air, but you've got to cash it in before the whistle steals the momentum.
Absolutely. This is the goal that turns the order book into a stampede, and you can already feel the spreads wanting to widen. Saudi becomes the informed striker stock, while Uruguay's longs are forced into panic selling like a defense caught on a counter.
Oh, whipped into the mixer. There's the header and the keeper claws it out, but it's spilled and it's chaos in the 6-yard box. Saudi Arabia sniffing blood on the rebound. Uruguay just hanging on by their finger.
Go well, Saudi Arabia. Muslera gets a hand to it, but it squirms loose, and Dalrim is the hungriest in the box. First to the bobble, first to the finish, bang into the net. That's pure desire, and Uruguay are stunned. And it just won't quite fall. One of those scrappy moments where the ball's begging to be stabbed home. Uruguay survived the scare, but you can see the panic. Every clearance feels like a sigh of relief. Saudi take the lead off a gorgeous far post delivery. Momentum fully converted. That's the kind of catalyst event you were describing. Odds must be snapping hard and liquidity getting punished.
Market's not fully buying the scoreboard yet. Saudi's only 0.39, 0.40, and the draw's still chunky at 33%, so traders are pricing a late equalizer. Uruguay's bid depth actually improved, which screams dip buyers stepping in like a team pushing. Now the liquidity's back and it's telling a clearer story. Big bid depth just showed up in the draw, and Saudi, so the crowd's leaning Saudi ahead but not safe. Uruguay's still priced like an underdog with a puncher's chance. One good spell and that 0.224 can get.
Saudi Arabia nick a late set-piece goal, pure momentum swing. Give me a quick market reaction take. How does a shock lead change risk appetite and pressure on the favorite?
That late goal is like a surprise earnings beat from the underdog. Risk appetite spikes instantly and shorts scramble to cover before the spread blows out. The favorites now trading with must-score pressure, so volatility jumps and the draw gets priced like extra time.
Imo, that late set-piece punch from Saudi, pure momentum swing. Give me your market reaction take. Is Uruguay's backline looking like a blue chip suddenly turning volatile?
Absolutely. Uruguay's defense just went from blue chip to meme stock in one candle, and now every cross feels like a margin call. That's when markets overreact. Saudi gets a volatility premium, and Uruguay's price becomes all about desperation and time left.
Saudi smelling blood now. Al Samad takes the sting out of it, then tries to slip that little dagger over the top for Al Dawsari. Uruguay have to show some spine here. You can't let this turn into a wave of green shirts crashing at you. Imo, Saudi nicking a late first half lead off a set piece momentum swing. Give us your market style take. Is this a short-term spike or a trend reversal for Uruguay's blue chip status?
It's a spike that can turn into a trend if Uruguay starts forcing it. One sloppy turnover and the market reprices like a downgrade. Blue chips don't die on one set piece, but they do. Yeah, that's classic protect capital territory. 2 men down is like losing liquidity and your best defender at the same time. Saudi should manage the clock and avoid a second yellow. Pressing now is chasing alpha when the downside tail just got fat.
That's a brutal stat. 18 straight without a comeback when they concede first. That's like carrying a piano up the pitch. But this is the World Cup, and one good spell can rip history up like confetti if Uruguay find a spark. Saudi have to be smart.
Absolutely, this is a volatility spike. One reckless tackle is your surprise CPI print, and suddenly spreads widen and everyone's trading emotion. With the wind up, even safe clearances turn into mispriced punts, so the next 5 minutes are pure momentum.
Oh, he's gone down in a heap there. Kano's looking for a whistle, but play rolls on and Ugarte snaps it back like a terrier, and that's the break. Uruguay staring at a problem, Saudi sitting pretty with all the belief in the world. We've got Uruguay with 2 players down and the goal scorer just booked. Momentum swinging like a volatile stock. Give us your risk management take. Protect the lead or keep pressing into halftime.
Market's basically frozen. Saudi holding 41%, but the sell wall is enormous, so price can't lift even with momentum. Uruguay's stuck at 25% with heavy overhead too. This is a grinded out tape where one headline play is the only thing that breaks the range.
We've got a nasty high boot, knee into Araujo's head, tempers rising, 2 yellows flying, and the wind suddenly howling. Feels like market volatility, one reckless challenge and everything swings. Jump in with that analogy? IMO, Uruguay's taking hits, 2 players down, tempers flaring, and the wind's picking up. Feels like a market turning volatile. How do you read this kind of momentum swing when conditions change mid-game? What a wicked curl into the mixer. Uruguay get the header and the keeper says not today. Alvarez pounces on the loose one, but Saudi Arabia are throwing bodies in there like it's a last stand. IMO, this match is turning into a bruising, windy scrap. 2 yellows, high boot, and now the keeper's making no rebound, saves under pressure. Give us your take. How do teams manage risk when the game gets this chaotic, like a portfolio in a storm? Arduhul tears down to the byline and gets chopped. Uruguay win the corner and the pressure's cranking up. You can feel the defender's legs turning to jelly here. One clean delivery and it's chaos in the 6-yard box. That's the kind of split-second discipline that keeps you alive. One rash lunge in the box, and it's a gift-wrapped penalty. Uruguay are sniffing blood on every burst, but Saudi have to defend with their heads, not their hearts. Absolutely, zonal's fine until runners start slicing through the seams like a hot knife. One missed handoff, and Uruguay will be celebrating before anyone even knows who was supposed to mark whom. Araujo fires it in, and Saudi Arabia hack it clear. No time for second bites. They're swarming the danger zone. Another driven ball flashes across, and somehow nobody gets a touch. Uruguay knocking, but the door's still bolted as we creep past 45. Araujo tries to settle and squeeze one toward goal, but the whistle kills it. Flags up, and that's a little sigh of relief for Saudi Arabia. Still, Uruguay are piling on in stoppage time like waves on a seawall. That's the warning flare right there. If you let the crosser pick his head up, you're basically inviting trouble. Saudi are retreating deeper and deeper, and they've been bailed out by a fraction on the timing. Next one might not be so forgiving. IMO. Massive triple header tomorrow. France and Senegal in action. Give us the market-style angle. Who's the blue chip? Who's the volatile pick? And what would you buy after today's warning signs from Saudi's backline? What a feast tomorrow. France-Senegal is pure fireworks on paper, and then you've got Argentina stepping in like the heavyweight champ walking to the ring. AMO, that's a triple header that screams prime-time volatility. Which matchups? Exactly. Manage the clock, breathe, and don't gift wrap a chance with some fancy exit pass under pressure. These last minutes are where tired legs make silly decisions, and one mistake can turn a comfortable half into chaos.
The draw market's getting a bit cleaner. Ask depth came in, so sellers are backing off just enough to let price breathe. Saudi still has the strongest support, but Uruguay remains boxed in by that huge offer wall like a striker surrounded by 3 center backs.
You've got to tip your hat. Saudi Arabia have been stubborn as a padlock in their own box, throwing bodies in front of everything. Uruguay are knocking, but the door's not even creaking yet, and that can frustrate even the calmest attackers. Absolutely. This is a unit, not just a keeper having a good day. Every clearance, every block, everyone singing from the same hymn sheet. That kind of chemistry is priceless, and it's why Uruguay keep finding traffic instead of daylight. IMO, Saudi's center back nicking the first goal off a set piece. Talk about an underdog dividend. Give us your best market analogy for set piece value. Low risk, high return, right? That one's just drifting out toward the paint, and Uruguay will have to reset. No panic, but no time to daydream either. Muslera's there, barking orders, trying to get them back into rhythm quickly.
Saudi's getting real sponsorship now. Bid depth jumps and the price ticks up, so the crowd's leaning into the underdog narrative. But Uruguay's still buried under a mountain of sell liquidity, meaning any comeback rally has to break through a 0.99 goalkeeper wall first. Totally. Second balls are the market's buy the dip reflex, and if you're flat-footed, you get punished. Teams avoid it with discipline. One player attacks the first contact, another's already positioned for the rebound, no ball watching.
4 minutes of pure nerve now. Betancourt driving it through the spine. Uruguay trying to squeeze one last surge out of tired legs. Saudi Arabia are hanging on by their fingernails, but they're still getting a touch on everything. Uruguay are winding the clock like a spring here. Oliveira nudges it on. Caceres wants that final dart before the whistle. Down the wing they go, and you can feel the box starting to tense up, waiting for one wicked delivery. Vinia can't keep it in, and that's another little win for the defenders. Saudi Arabia squeezing the touchline like a vice. That near side pressure is relentless, and Uruguay are starting to look like they're running out of runway. Flags up, and yeah, that's the correct call. Saudi Arabia's line is stepping together like a well-rehearsed dance troupe. Even when one man jumps to press, the rest drop and seal the gaps, making every Uruguay move feel pre-read.
Saudi's bid support is getting thicker, 80.41, but that 0.42 offer wall is basically a packed penalty box. Price won't score without a real catalyst. Uruguay's 0.24 is a magnet with huge size, so any optimism gets sold into fast.
IMO, Saudi Arabia nick it right before the break. Classic late half swing. Give me your market take. How does a goal that late change the momentum index and risk appetite for the second half? We're back in it now, second half about to ignite, and Uruguay have to come out with urgency, not just possession. Saudi Arabia will fancy their chances if they keep that compact shape and keep nicking those little duels. IMO, they're asking why football's the most searched sport. Give us the market angle. Global audience, low barrier to entry, media rights, sponsorship, the whole portfolio.
Totally. Football's the ultimate global index fund. One ball, one set of rules, and billions can buy in with almost zero cost. That scale turns into premium media rights and sponsorship pricing power, and the World Cup is basically the Super Bowl on a month-long roll.
That bicycle kick, oh my word, that's pure poetry in midair, like gravity took a coffee break. And you're right, football's the one game that says, go on then, dream a little, even if all you've got is a ball and a patch of ground. That's it, 90 minutes where the whole planet's in the same rhythm, strangers turning into family with every chant and gasp. Football's a dance floor with grass, and the beat is hope, sometimes off-key, always unforgettable.
Saudi just ticked up to 0.42, 0.43, so the market's leaning into the lead. Momentum buyers are pressing higher up the pitch. But that draw ask jumping out to 0.97 looks like a liquidity air pocket, so don't trust the tape there. Uruguay's
IMO, he's building this like a portfolio. Foundation, liquidity, then the big finish. Jump in. Why does football scale globally like a blue chip? And what's the final touch that makes it stick? IMO, they're talking about belief and being counted out. Feels like a market comeback story. Give us your best underdog rally take. What's the finance equivalent of asking again and again until it breaks your way?
That's the classic wall of worry rally. Price keeps knocking, sellers get tired, and suddenly the breakout prints on pure persistence. Finance equivalent is dollar cost averaging into a hated trade until positioning flips and the squeeze does the scoring.
IMO, we've gone from World Cup poetry to a full-on ad break buffet. Bank of America asking big questions while Arby's is asking you to chew quietly. That's capitalism's counterattack, my friend. Dreams in one hand, melted cheese in the other.
Not much new price-wise. Saudi holding 0.41, 0.42, and the draw parked at 0.34, 0.35, so we're in a tight midfield battle. The tell is Uruguay. Bid depth is tiny versus a massive offer stack, 8.024, so any rally gets tackled immediately.
AMO, Fox is stacking the schedule. US versus Australia at 3 p.m. ET, then IndyCar names like Alex Palou. Give us the business angle, ad dollars, ratings, and that cross-sport audience grab.
We're still range-bound. Saudis are 4.1, 4.42, and the draw are 3.4, 3.5, so nobody's taking the big shot yet. But Uruguay's offer stack just got even heavier, over 800K on the ask side, which screams every bounce gets sold. That's a defense sitting deep and clearing. That Uruguay sell wall just turned into a full-on bus parked in front of goal. Nearly 1 million shares sitting on the 0.24 ask. With bids still thin, any bullish Uruguay punt is basically trying to dribble through 3 defenders. Saudi and the draw stay steady.
IMO, Fox is running a full cross-sport promo blitz. World Cup, IndyCar, MLB feels like a diversified portfolio of adrenaline. Give us the market angle. Is this just ratings hedging or a real growth play? Australia, AT3 Eastern. Strap in because that's a tricky opponent who'll bite if you switch off for a second. An A2026 halftime show on Fox. That's football going full Super Bowl. AMO's going to want the ratings chart on that one. Visa presenting the 2026 halftime show. This is big brand territory. What does that kind of sponsorship say about the money and ratings around the World Cup? IMO, Saudi Arabia pulling another shock. This is the kind of upset that swings ratings and sponsorship value fast. What does a moment like this do to the business side, especially with Visa fronting the halftime show? IMO, Saudi Arabia leading Uruguay.
That second goal is the earnings miss plus guidance cut. Confidence evaporates and the sell button gets sticky. Psychologically, Uruguay is now chasing the game like a levered long in a drawdown, while Saudi plays with house money and the crowd momentum.
IMO, Saudi Arabia doing it again, 1-0 up at the break, and the upset vibes are real. Feels like a market shock. Uruguay missing the old blue chip strikers, pressure on Nunez like a volatile growth stock. How do you read that kind of momentum swing? Yeah, Uruguay look like they've turned up with a toolbox and forgot the hammer. Lots of huffing, not enough punch. Bielsa's fuming for a reason. If your best moment gets wiped out, you've got to create another, and right now Saudi are reading them like a ticker. Alamri lets it fly, and Muslera says, not today. That's a goalkeeper save with a padlock on it. That stop keeps Uruguay breathing, but you can feel Saudi Arabia growing in belief with every surge forward. IMO, Saudi just struck again. Momentum swing and belief through the roof. Give us your market reaction take. Is Uruguay crashing like a bad stock, and what's the psychological impact of a second goal? IMO, Saudi just nicked it with a header after Muslera's earlier heroics. Momentum swing like a sudden market breakout. Give us your volatility take. How does a team stabilize after a shock goal? IMO, that's a proper market shock. Saudi nick one and suddenly Uruguay look rattled. Give us your volatility index take. How does a team react when momentum flips this fast?
No doubt, that's a VIX spike moment. Spreads widen, everyone reprices, and the next 5 minutes decide if it's a trend or a head fake. If Uruguay respond with clean entries and shots on target, volatility cools. If they chase, it stays wild.
Saudi Arabia flipping the script early. Can you give the market shock angle on these live standings and how underdogs suddenly changed the whole group outlook? IMO, Saudi Arabia shaking up the live standings, total underdog rally. Give us the market analogy. How do you price this kind of shock result and momentum swing in real time? Oh, it's got that World Cup crackle now. One moment it's chess, the next it's fireworks. Saudi are playing like a team that's found a secret gear, and Uruguay look rattled like a blue chip stock taking a sudden dip.
Uruguay's bid just thickened up a lot, but that 0.24 ask wall is still a brick defense. Any bounce is going to need real pressure, not vibes. Saudi's still priced like the leader, yet the heavy sell depth says traders are fading the breakout and taking profit into strength. Saudi ticks up a hair, but the big tell is the draw-ask depth ballooning. Markets hedging like it's protecting A1 and OLED late. Uruguay's still stuck under that 0.24 supply ceiling, so until that wall cracks, the comeback trade is all hope and no liquidity.
And now it's the commercial pressing higher than Uruguay. 0% financing doing a high press on your wallet. But don't blink, because when we're back, that free kick stunner still has everyone wobbling like defenders on skates.
Saudi bid depth just thinned hard while the price holds. Classic scoreboard strength, tape weakness, like a team sitting deep and inviting pressure. Meanwhile, Uruguay's ask wall, 80.24, is shrinking, so if buyers keep leaning, you could see a quick squeeze.
We've got a sudden Jeep ad blitz cutting into a match that just had a free kick worldie. Can you riff on the 0% financing like it's a market move while I bring us back to the pitch?
Perfect timing. 0% financing is basically the Fed cutting rates mid-match. It juices demand fast, but you're paying somewhere in margins and incentives. It's a momentum play, like throwing on an extra striker after conceding. High upside.
We're ping-ponging between a lightning counter and a Metro deal. Tyler Adams driving it like a man possessed, then bang, straight into save $250. If that break doesn't kill the rhythm, nothing will. This match is begging for a killer final ball. Kinder Joy doing the full World Cup tour in 12 little capsules. Fair play, that's global scouting in chocolate form. But back on the pitch, you can feel the crowd ready to explode the moment someone slips a runner in behind. Croissants and credit cards in the middle of all this drama. Someone's trying to slow the tempo like a crafty holding midfielder. But you can't buy time forever. The next transition is going to hit like a thunderclap. IMO, they just dropped a Wells Fargo active cash ad, 2% unlimited rewards, tie it to the match. Is that a safe 2%er in this market or just marketing gloss?
Absolutely. This is the classic late-stage rally where the quality name rips because everyone's underweight and scrambling to chase. It feels like a short squeeze with a captain's armband. Momentum feeds on itself, but the pullback risk spikes the moment the...
Bonjour, Wendy. Now that's a crossover I didn't see coming. Minions and monsters crashing the broadcast like pitch invaders. But if the ref's already flashing yellow, the next reckless challenge could turn this whole game on its head. Father's Day bargains flying in like a long throw into the box, grills, gadgets, tools, the whole lot. But on the pitch, you can't discount intensity. One loose touch and it's chaos in the danger area.
Draw liquidity just thinned on the bid. Fewer buyers willing to step in, 8.34, so that floor looks a bit shakier. Uruguay's ask just lifted to 0.25, which tells you sellers are getting less desperate, but it's still a heavy supply game overall.
IMO, Messi's just struck again. This is blue chip greatness under maximum pressure. Give me a quick market reaction take. Is this the ultimate late stage rally or what?
We've got a clean uptick in Saudi and the draw, bids stepping up a notch, yet the draw's ask wall just ballooned, so upside is getting sold into immediately. Uruguay's still pinned near the lows, like a team stuck in its own half waiting for one counterattack to change. Totally. Sticking with the hot hand keeper is like riding the stock that's already in an uptrend. You don't bench momentum without a clear signal. But one injury headline is an earnings miss. Confidence gaps instantly, spreads widen, and everyone reprices risk in real. Saudi just got a little bid up to 45% with the price ticking higher while the draw softens a touch, so sentiment's leaning they see it out. But the book's still top heavy on the offer side, meaning any rally is running into a wall unless the match flow turns one way.
Oh, it takes a nasty kiss off Lugard, and suddenly the ball's got a mind of its own. Dulame's back sniffing around again, but then they cough it up, and now it's panic stations. Everyone's sprinting back like the fire alarm just went off. Ref's got the play-on look in his eyes. No cheap whistles, just pure chaos. Sanabria tries to knife it inside, and bang, a brave block shuts the door right in his face. Late whistle and a yellow, looks like dissent after the ref let it run. Feels like a momentum killer. Give me your market correction take on how a booking like that changes risk and tempo. Late whistle, ref reaching for the pocket, yellow looming, maybe for dissent. Feels like a sudden market halt. One decision and everyone's scrambling. Give us your take on how momentum swings after a booking. .67 gone, and it's still a one-goal game. Tight as a drum. Every touch feels like it could tilt the whole night. That ball drifting towards Sanabria is an invitation, and you know the next duel could be the headline. This is prime delivery territory. Just whip it across that far stick and let it cause havoc. No Verdi over it, but you've got Vinyasket lurking like a striker with a sixth sense, ready to pounce on anything that flashes through. Set piece moment. Valverde over a dangerous free kick. Wall set. Tension rising. Give me a quick market volatility analogy if this one flies in. Alawi again. Hands like magnets. He's getting a touch on everything tonight. Verde absolutely laced it, but the keeper's standing tall, and you can feel Uruguay thinking, what do we have to do to break this door down? Alawi's putting on a clinic save, then the bodies fly in, and it's blocked like a brick wall in front of him, and then Casades from distance just swishes it, but overcooks it. That one's sailing into the night. IMO, Saudi Arabia sniffing another World Cup upset. This is pure underdog momentum. Give us your market read. Is this a bubble about to burst, or are they fundamentally solid at the back with Alawi? Valverde whips it in with that wicked curl, and it's chaos, bouncing through bodies like a pinball, and somehow nobody gets the touch. And at the far stick, two Uruguay shirts are screaming for it. That delivery deserved a finish. He buys himself that half yard, then bends it right behind the line. Absolutely delicious. And you've got two men free like they've slipped out the back door. Uruguay will be furious they didn't cash that in. Hydration break in Miami. Saudi led 1-0 despite Uruguay pressure. Alawi's keeping it alive with big saves. Any quick heat tax angle on stamina late game swings? IMO, that ad's talking. Get all your data together like it's a midfield press. Give us the quick market take. Who's winning the AI customer service race right now, and what's the risk if the data's a mess? Hydration breaks a lifeline for Saudi, like hitting pause when the waves are crashing over you. Just breathe and reset. Uruguay will be furious because they were building a siege, and now they've got a crank. Fresh legs starting to tilt the chessboard here. Subs can change the rhythm in a heartbeat. Uruguay keeping their powder dry is risky, though. When you're chasing, you don't want to leave your bullets on the bench. And we're back. Cold beer, hot football, and the tension's fizzing like a fresh pour. You can feel it, can't you? One sharp pass, one loose touch, and this game, 74th minute, Saudi up 1-0, and Uruguay's gone quiet. Momentum swing after hydration breaks. Give me a quick market momentum analogy for this lull and what Uruguay... Valverde absolutely rifles it toward that near stick. Oof, side netting. For a split second, the keeper's heart's in his mouth, and you can feel the crowd inhale like the whole stadium just got juked.
This book is screaming one-way traffic. Massive ask walls across all three outcomes, so upside is capped unless a real catalyst hits. The loudest signal is that whale leaning hard into the draw at cheap levels while the crowd's fading. Uruguay feels like a contrarian set piece.
That delivery's got venom again, and Valverde's just slinging it into the mixer like he's dealing cards, but the flag goes up offside, and it's a real momentum killer, like someone yanked the plug mid-attack. Saudi Arabia's defensive discipline is the story here. Compact, organized, soaking up pressure. Give me a quick market analogy for how they're managing risk under siege.
Totally. Saudi's playing it like a risk manager in a volatility spike. Tighten the stops, shrink the gaps, and force the market to pay up for every inch. They're not chasing returns, they're protecting the book and waiting for one clean counter to reprice everything.
Lamento hangs it up there, but it's a gift to nobody in stripes, just floats into empty air. And you're right, Saudi Arabia have been defending like a wall with legs in this half, soaking pressure and still keeping their shape. IMO, Saudi's defending is like a blue chip stock today. Tight spreads, constant cover around the ball, no panic under pressure. Give us your market style take on that discipline and risk management.
Nailed it. This is blue chip tape action. Tight spreads, no forced trades, and they're happily letting Uruguay burn time and energy paying the liquidity premium. The longer it stays calm, the more frustration builds, and that's when one mistake can gap the price. Saudi's still priced like the favorite, but the tape's getting heavy. Ask depth is swelling, so rallies look like they'll get sold into. Draw ticked down a hair, and that's classic clock trade. If Uruguay can't break through soon, that draw bid can firm up fast.
Plays halted. Saudi Arabia have a player down, and that just takes the sting out of Uruguay's rhythm. You can see Uruguay pleading their case, but the refs having none of it. Everyone's forced to reset and cool off. Talbricken's the one in a heap, and you can tell it's from that nasty coming together. No wonder Uruguay were waving for a booking. The referee's got a decision to sell here because the temperature's rising fast. IMO, ref keeps the card in his pocket. Feels like a market letting volatility slide. With that Fox triple header tomorrow, give us the blue chip pick. France, Senegal, who's the safer bet and who's the high upside underdog?
Totally. When the ref swallows the whistle, it's like a central bank going hands off. Volatility builds quietly, then one flashpoint gaps the whole market. Saudi's press is leveraged momentum, but a card flips the risk reward instantly and can turn that.
Oh, that's a football feast. Mbappe, Messi, and Haaland on the same day, like three different storms. Varela swings it in. This is where hearts start thumping in the stands. 1v2 is brave, but with that delivery hanging up there, all it takes is one clean touch and the whole game tilts.
Saudi's probability just ratcheted up again and the bid depth is back. Buyers are pressing like a team, camping in the final third. Uruguay's still priced like a long shot, and with that lopsided ask wall, it's a brutal...
He's dragged down there because they know. Give him a yard and it's chaos. 77th minute, Saudi clinging to that slender edge, and every whistle now feels like it weighs a ton. Momentum swing here. Saudi pinned back, then suddenly high press. Feels like a risky leverage play. Also, refs losing control. That challenge screams yellow, maybe more. What's your take on game management under pressure? We've got a clear yellow here. Late arm across, no ball. Momentum swinging and tempers rising. Any quick risk management analogy for how teams handle these pressure spells without blowing up between the lines? Headed clear, but it drops straight down the throat of the danger zone. Those are the ones that make defenders sweat. Oliveta brings it down, and you can feel the crowd inhale because the second ball is where goals get born.
Saudi's price is firming, but look at that massive ask stack. Supply is leaning on the rally like defenders crowding the box. Uruguay is still a cheap flyer, yet the book says any move up will be a grind unless sellers step aside.
If this holds, they're sitting pretty at the top, but you can't start admiring the table with minutes still ticking. Varela and Cannavale trying to play pinball in a phone booth there. One loose touch, and it's a counterattack siren.
Saudi ticks up again, but the bid depth is getting skinny. This is a rally on fumes, not fresh conviction. Uruguay slipping to single digits tells you the crowd's piling into the favorite, and that's when one ugly bounce can punish the late chasers.
Saudi break is on. One pass, and it's suddenly a sprint to goal. Feels like protecting a 1-0 lead. Do you see it like a portfolio hedging late, or do you still push for growth?
Now that's a real shift. Saudi bid depth just surged, so buyers are finally showing up with size, not just vibes. Draw and Uruguay are still buried under huge sell walls, which screams risk-off positioning unless the match flips momentum fast.
Brian Rodriguez getting the nod, fresh legs and a bit of street magic, and MLS fans know he can light a fuse in a heartbeat. If Uruguay are going to flip this, they need his direct running right now, not later. Over 62,000 in the house. Listen to that roar. It's like the stadium's got its own heartbeat. Nights like this, one big moment and the noise can carry the ball into the net.
Draw bids are creeping up with better depth, so someone's quietly buying the stalemate insurance while the headline stays Saudi. Saudi's still pinned at 59.60 with heavy offers overhead, like a team camped in the final third but struggling to get the clean shot.
The changes have given Uruguay a spark. Viñas up top has made the press sharper and the runs a bit cleaner, but the scoreboard's still staring them down. Plenty of time, sure, but they need one real punch, not just shadow boxing.
That Saudi bid depth just collapsed back to tourist money, so the 58.59 price looks more like a bluff than a breakout. Draw's got real bids sitting up at 0.29, and if momentum stalls, that's the hedge everyone will sprint into.
Cannavale tried to roll his man and open the door, but the window slammed shut just as he shaped to shoot. It spills out wide right. Uruguay living on the edge there. One cleaner touch, and that's real trouble.
Saudi's still priced like the clear favorite, but look at that massive ask stack. Sellers are lining up like a parked bus at 0.91 and above. Meanwhile, the draw spread widens, so liquidity's getting jumpy. That equalizer is a full-on gap move. Saudi just got stop-lossed, and the draw became the new risk-off trade in one candle. Crowd flips instantly, like a stadium roar turning into a buy program, and now Uruguay's optionality gets repriced. Absolutely. Fresh legs are like a sudden liquidity injection. Volatility pops and the underdog tail totally. Second phase chaos is like a failed support level. Once it breaks, everyone reprices risk at the same time. Now it's an open game, and that's when the volatility traders feast. One more chance and the odds can swing like a counterpunch.
That angle run had promise, but the recovery's sharp and it forces the sloppy touch. Gotta be cleaner in the danger zone. And Bricken's first touch. Oh, that's velvet, the kind that buys you a second in a storm.
Massive regime change. Draw now priced 67%. Saudi collapses to single digits. Uruguay jumps to high 20s. Classic late game momentum swing. Feels like a key equalizer / red card penalty moment. Can you color what happened on the pitch?
Yep, on the pitch it was a real pressure cooker sequence. Ball worked left, whipped into the box, headed down, and the keeper could only parry it, and the follow-up second phase ends up in the net for 1-1. You could feel the momentum flip instantly. Defenders rattled, crowd roared.
Draw's still the crowded trade at 2/3, but look at that lopsided.
That's the cruel twist, isn't it? Araujo delivers the punch, then straight off the stage before the applause even dies. Saudi looked rattled by that back post chaos, and now with Rodriguez on, the tempo could spike. Uruguay deserved their flowers here. Once they smelled hesitation, they hunted in packs and kept the pressure boiling. Now let's see that substitution for Al Shamat, because one fresh pair of legs can change the whole rhythm in a heartbeat. That equalizer was born from Saudi trying to play out too cute. Uruguay pounced, recycled, and kept peppering until a wicked whipped ball caused chaos. Keeper spilled the rebound and Araujo arrived with bodies flooding the box. Pure momentum. That swing straight off a Saudi giveaway trying to play out. Uruguay smelled blood, recycled it, then whipped a wicked ball in behind. Alois spills the first save, and Arroyo's the quickest to the rebound. Side foots it home with two unmarked at the far post.
Now you're seeing real money step in on the draw bid. Depth jumped, but the ask side is still a wall, so upside is capped unless that supply gets lifted. Uruguay is creeping up too, and that's classic momentum hedge behavior as the game opens up.
81-1, you can feel Saudi Arabia wobbling. When the legs go, the decisions go with them, and suddenly every touch is a little heavier. Uruguay are sniffing that fatigue like sharks. IMO, this is where momentum trades hands fast.
Draws slipping, and more importantly, the bid just vanished again. 8K of support is nothing, so this can drop like a striker with a light touch in the box. Uruguay's bid is the only one with real muscle, and that's where momentum money's leaning.
Saudi looked gassed and sloppy playing out, momentum swinging hard. Give us a quick market analogy. When do you cut losses and go long, direct to relieve pressure? Canavio's been a live wire since he stepped on. Every touch has purpose. Every run drags defenders into panic stations. He's whipping it in early, and that's gold because it lets Uruguay attack the ball at speed instead of waiting for it. Uruguay have come out like they've hit the turbo button, second half intensity through the roof, and Saudi just can't match that spark anymore. Sanabria's lurking with that striker's patience. One sniff in the box and it could be curtains. Uruguay's pressure is relentless now. Corner after corner, Saudi looking gassed. Any quick market momentum analogy for this swing feels like a late surge breaking a stubborn support line. That deflection is massive. Corner kick, crowd rises, and Uruguay smell blood in the water, and Rodriguez has been revving on the touchline like a race car. Whether it was planned or not, this change screams, we're going for the win.
Big reversal in the tape, draw probability pops back to 66%, and crucially, bid depth refills to nearly 48K. Someone just put a real floor under it. Uruguay cools off a touch, so this feels like the market parking the bus and pricing a stalemate again.
Uruguay are squeezing the pitch like a vice now. Every Saudi touch feels rushed. Every pass looks like it's got a defender's shadow on it. First half, they were asleep at the wheel, but this second half is pure siege football, and Saudi are wobbling. Rodriguez picks it up, drives, and lets fly. Whoa, that one had venom, even if it ends up wild. Fresh legs with fresh audacity, and Saudi's backline just flinched. You can feel Uruguay's belief swelling with every attack. Yeah, that's the kind of hit that makes a keeper say a little prayer. If it bends inside the post, he's just a spectator. Rodriguez is playing like he's got a point to prove, and Saudi can't afford to keep giving him that yard of space. That's the danger. He strolls into the box like he's got a VIP pass, and everyone's backing off, terrified of the penalty shout. One brave challenge ends it, but one mistimed lunge, and you've handed Uruguay the jackpot. Exactly. If you've got fresh legs, you've got fresh courage, and that's when you snap into a tackle and stop the bleeding. Instead, they're retreating deeper and deeper, and Uruguay are licking their lips with all that territory. Saudi finally try to breathe with that switch out to the right, but Uruguay are swarming like bees around honey. That touch gets knocked down, and suddenly it's a scrap for second balls. This is where momentum can flip in a heartbeat. Uruguay are back in the saddle again, just wave after wave, possession like a tide you can't hold back. Alois has been a wall, and those defenders are throwing bodies in front of shots like it's a last-ditch stock buyback. Painful but effective. Down the middle, they've been compact and brave. You can see the chemistry, everyone moving like they've rehearsed it 100 times. But when they try to get cute in possession, that's when the alarm bells ring because Uruguay punish hesitation instantly. IMO, 15-0 shots at the half, but only one goal. Feels like a market with huge volume but tiny price move. What do you make of that kind of dominance without payoff?
Totally. It's like record trading volume, but the stock can't break resistance, which usually screams absorbed flow and strong defense on the other side. Dominance without payoff often sets up frustration risk. One clean break and the move finally...
IMO, 15 shots to 0, but only one goal. How's that for inefficiency? Feels like a market pumping volume with tiny returns. Give us your quick take.
Now the draw book looks thinner. Bid depth collapses to about 40K and the price ticks down a cent, so that safe consensus is losing some armor. Uruguay quietly edges up again, and with less liquidity on the draw side, one headline moment could swing this like a...
That ball flashed across the face like a warning siren, and Saudi Arabia just about slammed the door shut. Massive clearance under pressure. Uruguay are circling like sharks now, but it's still only one goal, and that keeps the drama boiling.
Draw's probability pops to 69%, but look at that bid depth, barely 11K. This is a crowded trade with a flimsy floor. Uruguay liquidity is even worse on the bid, so any goal is a straight red card for pricing. Instant repricing, no exit doors.
Al-Dasari shapes it wide, Kano hovering like he's ready to pounce. This is that nervous little pocket of play where one touch changes everything. You can feel Uruguay itching to spring the trap, but Saudi Arabia are trying to breathe and keep the ball. That's the kind of possession Saudi Arabia have been begging for. Patient, purposeful, and suddenly it sparks down the left. Lovely little give and go. The cutback is begging, but Uruguay throw a body in and smother it before the trigger can be pulled. Scrappy box scramble, big tackle, then a whistle feels like a momentum killer. From a market's angle, how do you read these stop-start phases? Do they favor the side protecting a lead like risk-off?
Absolutely. Those whistles are like volatility halts. They cool the tape and let the leading side reset shape, very risk-off. But the longer it stays stop-start, the more one messy bounce can gap the price against you.
Yeah, that long-range hit felt like a rush trade. Plenty of better passes on the board, and they still went for the lottery ticket. Cano's holding it up on the right, and you sense Uruguay are just waiting to snap the press shut.
Draw ticks up to 71% and the spread tightens, but notice the bid depth just got chopped in half. Support's thinner even as price rises, classic late chase. If Uruguay lands one counterpunch, this draw trade gets caught offside fast.
IMO, Group H is a four-way tie for fourth with this scoreline. Spain held 0-0 by Cape Verde. Feels like a market in pure chaos. Give us your quick take while Uruguay win another corner.
Yeah, that's pure everything's a meme stock energy. One set piece and the whole table gaps. Spain being pinned 8-0-0 is the blue chip wobble, and it makes every corner here feel like a catalyst headline.
Saudi Arabia have squeezed that far side like a vice, and you've got to admire the coordination. One step up and the whole line moves like it's on a string. Uruguay are being dared to thread the needle, and that's when mistakes or magic happen. All right, they'll hand it over to the studio crew later, but right now the pitch is still humming. This one's not done yet. Uruguay are circling, Saudi Arabia are holding that line, and one lapse in concentration could flip the whole night. IMO, three superstars on deck, Messi, Holland, and the rest. Feels like blue chip earnings week. Give us the market analogy. Who's the safe dividend and who's the volatile growth stock tomorrow? Midnight, and Holland's got that first time on the big stage electricity. You just know defenders are already checking their insurance policies. Maguire's delivery hangs up and it just doesn't find a shirt. Wasted opportunity with the clock screaming at them. You can feel the air go out of the attack for a second there, but there's still time for one more twist.
Draw keeps grinding higher to 0.74, 0.75, but the bid side is still paper thin. This is momentum without muscle, with Uruguay's win price slipping to 0.21, 0.22. One clean breakaway could flip sentiment faster than a late.
Oof, Tabanki's still down, and you hate to see it this late. He's been the shield in front of the back line all night. If he can't shake it off, that defensive wall suddenly looks a lot. Saudi Arabia just need to slide as a unit now, keep the distances tight and stop the silly gaps, manage the chaos, don't invite it. And with Viñas off, Uruguay have played their last card from the bench, so whoever's on the pitch now has to deliver. De La Cruz calms it down, Lasai swings it back in, and Tenebria's sniffing around. Second ball bouncing like a pinball. Keeper comes flying with the fist, punches it clear, and that's a brave claim under serious heat.
Now the draw is getting real sponsorship. Bid depth jumps to 46K, and price walks up to 0.
Oof! That challenge had a bit of bite. Everyone's playing on the edge now. 7 minutes at it, and you can feel the stadium tighten like a drum in this first of the 7. Every throw-in suddenly feels like a corner. Who are these two subs getting ready to jump in?
Draws up to 0.7, 0.78, and the bid depth nearly doubles. Crowds piling into the safe outcome like it's a late game 1-0. But look at that massive ask wall now. If any goal hits, liquidity vanishes, and this price can gap the wrong way fast.
Rodrigo Aguilar rolls it on, and here comes Tordegress, first World Cup minutes, and what a moment to step into the furnace. Debuting late like that is rare, but it's the kind of story football loves. Now he's got to write the next line under pressure. Saudi keep it alive down the right, and suddenly there's daylight. Al-Ghasari charging like he's late for a flight. But that final pass has to be perfect now. You can't waste these moments in stoppage time or Uruguay will pounce.
That draw just jumped to 0.80 0.81, but
You can see it now. Legs heavy, mind slower, and Uruguay smell that fatigue like sharks. Another corner, more pressure, and yeah, those subs feel a little late, like changing the tires after the skid's already started. Exactly. Feed the runner wide, keep the ball, don't get greedy. Because the moment you lose it, you're stretched like an old sweater at the back, and Uruguay will sprint straight through that left channel. Uruguay slice it open, and that cutback is poison. What a save to keep the lid on it. De La Cruz nearly makes them pay for that sloppy choice moments ago, and now it's pinball in the box. Abdullahi's tank is empty, and you can't blame him. He's left everything out there. They've been brave, they've been organized, but you can't do it for 90 when the first half takes that much out of your lungs. More changes coming, and you can feel the reset button being smashed. Fresh legs to plug the leaks, but the danger is the rhythm's already with Uruguay now, and every swap is a gamble against momentum.
draws slipping 2.78, 0.79, and that's the market taking its foot off.
3 subs. Last roll of the dice, and you're right, it's going to stretch this finish with extra stoppage. Now it's about whether those fresh legs bring a spark or just more chaos in the closing minutes. First taste of international football, and it's coming at him like a fire hose. Welcome to the big stage. If the ref keeps letting those shots fly without a whistle, Uruguay will keep loading the cannon until something bursts.
Draws still pinned 8, 0.78, 0.79, but the bid depth keeps thinning. Support's getting tired legs. Uruguay ticking down to 0.16, 0.1 with a fatter bid stack, says traders are quietly hedging the late equalizer script, even if the head. Draws trying to reassert AT 0.79, 0.80, but it's still a top-heavy book, lots of air underneath if sentiment flips. Uruguay drifting to 0.15, 0.16, while bid depth jumps is classic buy the dip, positioning for a late push like a team.
That save was like a last-second margin call. Keeper stretches, gets a touch, and pays for it with pain. Jump in with a quick analogy on risk management under pressure as stoppage time grows.
Absolutely. Under pressure, the keeper's basically deleveraging in real time. You take the ugly touch now to avoid the catastrophic goal later. In markets, that's cutting risk into volatility even if it stings, because stoppage time is when the wild wicks happen.
We've got a huge reflex save through traffic. Keeper gets a fingertip and maybe a deflection. Looks hurt after the stretch. Give me your risk management take. Is he staying on or do they protect the asset?
Now that's a momentum swing. Draw rips up to 0.83, 0.85, and bid depth explodes, so the crowd's piling into the no more goals trade. But that massive offer stack overhead is like part.
All square 8-1-1, and you can hear the stadium inhale. This is set up for a wild finish. Saudi Arabia have been hanging on, but one clean break either way, and the whole story flips in a heartbeat. Through traffic, late sight of it, and still he drops like a trapdoor and flicks it wide. Unbelievable reflexes. You can see the attackers' faces. That's the look of, what do we have to do to score?
Draws holding the high ground at 0.84, 0.85, but that bid depth just got cut in half. Someone stopped defending the lead. Uruguay's still quietly supported with that chunky 0.05 bid wall, so if they get one real chance, this sure draw can wobble fast.
Sanabria can't quite thread the needle. Rodriguez tries to recycle it, and Saudi Arabia snap into the tackle. Out it goes for the throw. You can feel them clinging to this like it's the last lifeboat. Every duel a mini final. Fresh legs coming on now, and you can feel the tempo twitch upward. This is where coaches roll the dice. Those new names want one touch to change everything, and the defenders are suddenly checking over their shoulders. Uruguay finally stitched something together. Valverde drives it low, and it takes a wicked nick, still alive and bouncing dangerously. Canovio does ever so well to keep the move breathing, and suddenly Saudi Arabia are scrambling, heads on swivels.
Whoa, draws still priced rich, but bid depth just collapsed to about 11K while the sell side stays heavy. That's a rug pull setup if any goal threat shows up. It's like a team time wasting with tired legs. One turnover and everyone's sprinting back in panic.
Valverde suddenly dictating like a blue chip stock, ripping higher after a slow open. Uruguay piling on corners, pressure compounding. Give me a quick market momentum analogy for this late surge.
Exactly, this is Late session momentum. Buyers keep lifting offers, and every corner is another market order chasing price. If the draw trade is the crowded short vol position, this Uruguay push is the squeeze starting to bite.
Valverde's smelling it now. Keep peppering from range and hope for that cruel deflection because the box is absolutely jammed with green shirts. Rodriguez swings the corner, it's hacked away, and Ruela takes a nasty one with that high boot. This is getting edgy fast.
Draw just got marked up again, 208 sub 0.89, but the bid side is basically a puddle, only about 8.7k of support under it. That's a classic priced for perfection trade. One Uruguay break, and this thing gaps like a defender slipping on a wet pitch. Draw's now 0.89 bid, and they've widened the spread to 0.91. Classic sign the market makers are backing away while everyone crowds the same side. With Saudi basically unbid and Uruguay still live at 10%, this feels like stoppage time risk hiding in. Draw's probability ticks up again, but the real tell is Uruguay getting cheaper 0.110 while the draw spread stays wide. Money's sniffing a late twist. This is like a team parking the bus with a 1-goal lead they don't actually have.
Another wave comes in and Saudi Arabia are throwing themselves in front of everything, sliding, blocking, sacrificing like it's the last stand. It's frantic now, heads on swivels, everyone scrambling to find a mark as the box turns into a pinball machine. Here comes the cavalry. Someone flies across to make the intervention, and they even go short on corner number 13. Can you believe it? Tenabria whips it in, and that header back across is a clever little pass. Danger still simmering. It's kept alive, not a finish, and Saudi are still having to defend like their lives depend on it. They've been brilliant, but you can feel them begging for that whistle. Benches up, arms waving like ref, end the suffering.
Interesting flip. Draw still but 95.96, but now bid depth is bigger than the asks. Buyers are stepping in like they're protecting a lead in the final minutes. Uruguay's spread blowing out to 0.03, 0.06 screams illiquidity, so any shock headline would...
Oh, they're trying to kill it by the corner flag, maybe even nick a throw, but the ref says play on, no freebies tonight. Casares gets it, and suddenly the tension spikes again. One loose touch here, and it's heartbreak territory. 7 minutes of pure siege football. Casares pokes it in, it's half cleared, and it just won't go away. De La Cruz swings again, bodies everywhere in light blue, and it's blocked out for yet another corner. This is relentless pressure. This is like a stock under non-stop buy pressure, wave after wave, but the defense keeps hedging perfectly. One steps, one covers. Jump in with a quick market metaphor as this last chance corner comes up.
Absolutely. This is a melt up with no sellers left, like a late session squeeze where every dip gets instantly bought. But on a last chance corner, it's tail risk city. One deflection and the price gaps down before anyone can hit the exit. Now, it's not just confidence, it's a full-on bid wall. Over 640k stacked, 80.99 with zero asks, like the crowd already leaving the stadium early. That kind of one-sided book screams locked, but if the ref adds chaos time, there's no orderly exit.
Saudi had the first half swagger, Uruguay roared back after the break, and in the end, they cancel each other out. 1-1, fair as you like. El Amri lights the fuse, Araujo answers with the equalizer, and both walk away thinking they could have stolen it. All right, we'll hand it back to Jules Breach in the studio. Jules, take it away. We'll catch our breath after that roller coaster because both sides had moments where it felt like the next touch could decide everything. IMO, Group A is a four-way tie. Total market parity. Give us your best stocks all flat at the close analogy in one punchy line.
Yep, this is the whole index pinning to the closing print. Everyone's marked at the same price. Nobody wants to show their hand. It's parity on the scoreboard, but one late headline and you get a gap open tomorrow.
That table is absolute chaos. 4 teams level, everyone clutching a single point like it's gold dust. And Uruguay will feel they rescued it with that second half surge because early on they looked a step slow, then suddenly they were flying. Yeah, they'll take that point and the momentum because the second half looked like a team that's found its heartbeat again. They didn't land the knockout punch, but they were the ones throwing the heavier shots. Saudi will be relieved to escape.
We're seeing capitulation on Saudi, offers basically at 0, while the draw stays pinned with that massive 0.99 bid stack. That's the market saying game over. But remember, when everyone crowds the same trade, the only drama left is a last-second shock.
Group A is a 4-way tie, everyone on 1 point. Give us a quick market analogy. Who's the undervalued stock after that Uruguay second half surge, and who's overvalued despite the draw? That Spain draw cranked the pressure right up, so Uruguay grabbing something there feels massive, keeps the group on a knife edge. Now we swing to LA for Iran, and you can just feel the tension rising. This one's got must not lose written all. Iran against New Zealand for the very first time, fresh pages in the World Cup storybook, and LA's ready to roar. And credit to that Kiwi boss dragging them back onto this stage after so long. Now comes the hard part, making it count under the light.
That draw bid wall is thinning a bit, down to about 912K, so some players are quietly taking chips off the table, even with the price pinned at 0.99. Saudi's offers at literal zero tells you sentiment's been relegated, and liquidity's so one-sided it's all about
IMO, defending champ.